it's enough time. In 10 days, we can get it.
That's okay. All right, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody. We got a little late start this evening, sorry about that. So we had a scheduled 6:30 public hearing on the moratorium hardship relief application for 134 Neelytown Road. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Kristen Brown, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Ron Feller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. We're going to get the presenter on the phone, Mr. Charlie Bazzillo. Hey, Charlie.
How you doing, guys?
Excellent. You're on with the whole board and the general public.
Okay, very good, very good. I realize you're running a little bit behind, so I'll keep it as brief as possible. Basically, what we're here for tonight is that my client, National Builders LP, is the contract vendee for about a 43-acre piece of property on Neelytown Road. It's identified as section block of lot 33-1-39.62. We have been pursuing the site plan approval special exception permit for the construction of a 312,500 square foot warehouse facility at the location of 134 Neelytown Road. As I documented out, or kind of detailed out in my application letter to the board, we've been in front of the planning board with the project, and it has been being reviewed by the planning board since the fall of 2017. We culminated that process on April 27th with the planning board closing the public hearing and adopting a seeker negative declaration for the project. Unbeknownst to the planning board at that time, the local law number 2 of 2020 had actually been accepted at that time by the Department of State, and so the planning board believed, though they felt at the time they had authority to take that action, they realize now that that may not have been the case. So we have made this application under the hardship waiver of local law number 2, and we believe our application does satisfy the criteria for the town board to grant the variance waiver from the local laws provisions. And basically that is based upon the fact that the project is not new, has been in front of the town's land use board for a number of years. We're right at the end of the process of the approval process, and to date the applicant has spent $750,000 on deposits, site design costs, payment of property taxes, town consulting charges for the project. And unfortunately, our purchase agreement will expire in mid-July if we're not able to continue and finalize the review process. So we do believe we have an economic hardship under strict application of the law. And the second criteria that is in the hardship section of the law talks about the potential environmental issues associated with the project. And I think that's pretty clear here that the planning board, after looking at this for quite a while, did come to the conclusion of issuing a secret deck for the project, so that the environmental aspects of the project have been thoroughly reviewed. So that's my quick summary of where we're at, and certainly if there's any questions from the board, we can discuss them further as need be. So.
Okay, before we open up to comments from the general public, is there anyone on the board who has any comments for the representative of the development?
Just real quick. Mr. Bazidlo, Will Frank here. Is there anything that you did not put in your hardship application letter that you want to add or supplement? We have your document, the entire board has it. Was there anything else that's not in here that may have arisen since the time of your application that you need to add?
Yes, there actually is, and I would say that, one of the things that was not included in the original application was the discussion of if the town board was so inclined to grant a variance, when the effective date of that variance/waiver would be. We would ask the board, considering the time frame that this project's been in front of the planning board, if they were to grant this waiver, to make it retroactive back to April the 27th. This way, the actions that the planning board did take on that day would be valid, and we'd be able to move forward then with finalizing up the site plan review for the project.
Is there anything else?
The only other thing I could say is that part of the seeker neg deck did request an additional analysis of a drainage point along Coughlin Road. That analysis was completed. It was submitted over to the planning board chairman and the engineer. I don't know if they have had a chance to take a look at that information yet, but I can say that in summary what that analysis does show is that with the construction of the project, there actually is a decrease in stormwater flow onto that point that was analyzed on Coughlin Road. So with the drainage system that would be put in with the project, it actually improves the overall drainage system out in that area of the town.
I will add that was sent to one of the nearby residents to circulate through others that live near that area. And over the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a meeting that Mr. Bazidlo and the company have agreed to continue to reach out to those residents and talk about those concerns related to that report. Thank you for that accommodation, Charlie.
Okay.
Anybody else? Nothing else for me at the moment.
Okay. Hold on, Charlie.
Okay.
Okay, are there any members of the public on the conference line who would like to make a comment as part of the public hearing only for the moratorium hardship relief application for 134 Neely Town Road? Just one more time, anyone on the call line from a member of the public for a comment on the moratorium hardship relief application for 134 Neely Town Road? Okay, we'll leave that open for the next public comment portion. Anything else?
Just one other thing, Mr. Bazidlo, your client is National Builders, right? Yeah.
Charlie, did you hear that question from Will?
No, I did not, Brian. I didn't hear it, no.
Your client is National Builders, correct?
National Builders LP, yes.
Okay, so what you need to do is submit to the town clerk. I don't know, you may have done this already and I didn't get a copy. We're going to need for the record consent of the landowner pursuant to section 7B of the local law number 2 of 2020. Just you're going to need to submit consent of the landowner for this hardship application, all right?
Okay, not a problem. There is one on file about the planning board application itself, and we'll submit one in regards to this application specifically then. So.
Yeah, please send it to the town clerk with a copy to myself.
Very good.
That's all I have, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, does anyone else wish to make a comment from the board specific to the public hearing on the moratorium hardship relief application 134 Neelytown Road? I think I might have heard someone chime in. Is there anyone? Yep. Would you like to make a comment on the moratorium hardship relief application for 134 Neelytown Road?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And what's your name, and for the record?
My name is Beverly Mertz.
Beverly Mertz.
Mertz, M-E-R-T-Z.
Thank you, Beverly. Go ahead.
Okay. I sent you a written statement, but I'm going to read it in case not everyone has a chance to read it. But here it goes. I am writing you in regards to the appeal of National Builders, 134 Neelytown Road, and their request to be excluded from the town of Montgomery moratorium that was enacted on April 23rd, 2020. Please know that even with the disruption of the current pandemic, no public hearings or public meetings would cause a delay on this part of the public planning board or the town of Montgomery regarding this project. They should have never been approved that night. The minutes of the planning board meeting on just the day before the town moratorium was enacted, 4/15, and the meeting of April 27th would approve that. At the 4/15 meeting, National Builders is still awaiting approval from the Army Corps of Engineers for confirmation that the on-site wetlands that are being impacted are non-jurisdictional or isolated. They have submitted requests for a comment, but had not yet heard back. Nothing to do with anything from any town Montgomery board. Also, please note that some of the public, even some members of the board that night, had a very hard time getting in to make their comment. If you read the minutes of April 27th, public hearing by the planning board, they expressed it with many concerns that were in my opinion, totally disregarded. Issues raised by Mr. Cardone addressed it as the operation. No promises could be made by the applicant that there would be any vehicles before or after the stated hours. This was a real concern that affected residents who would have this warehouse in his backyard. The first answer given by the applicant, in my opinion, was totally disrespectful. The resident, Mr. Cardone, then asked, is it going to be held with the building, or if that tenant leaves, then would it become a 24-hour application? Applicant, Mr. Cecil, responded, it can't be restricted on the building. My question is, why not? Then there is the issue of drainage, hotspot, water, stormwater runoff, and all these issues involving Conklin Lane. Chairman Michael himself stated, the length of time that it is taken for this project to get through this process, it has to make the residents feel real confident with how their comments are dealt with. And I think all of us want to be able to have some confidence that we are not exasperating the situation. End quote. Earlier in the meeting, Chairman Michael asked, what about assurances of the noise levels? None of these issues had even been given time to be considered before the next negative declaration determination was written up. Much less given within hours of the residents' questions at a public hearing that same evening. It appears to me that ample time was not taken by the planning board due to unnecessary pressure from the applicant to push his project through to this moratorium date. Remember, the date of local law 2 was accepted by the town board on April 16, 2020. And from that date, it was just a matter of being signed into law by Albany. Also note that the fact that the planning board giving National Builders a negative declaration determination was questionable to meet the deadline, and that was brought to the attention of everyone by Resident John Berger at the beginning of that planning board meeting on April 27th. National Builders have put undue pressure on the planning board to come up with an approval before the enactment of the moratorium, and they, National Builders, just waited too long to start the process. There is no hardship. They just delayed. There's no delay in meeting the town of Montgomery Planning Board standards and requirements. Submitted by Beverly Mertz. And this was sent to you via email.
Thank you, Beverly. If you didn't get this yet, I'll make sure you get copies there. just as a point of reference, so to her point of some of the concerns that were at the planning board meeting that evening, if they get the waiver and go forward, they would have to get that approval at that meeting again. They would have to go through that process. That never happened. Beverly, so I'm talking to the attorney, I'm sorry. So they would have to get that approval again, correct?
They would have to go back and proceed with the environmental. They finished the public hearing the first time. That'll be up to, it depends if the request of the applicant to apply this hardship waiver retroactively back to that date, then they wouldn't have to. If the town board doesn't apply it retroactively, they would potentially have to go back to the planning board.
For that approval, for that evening.
Another approval.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Thank you for your comment, Beverly. Is there anyone else on the line who jumped on? I don't think so, but just wanted to ask. Okay, it's my recommendation that we leave this public hearing open. We didn't get a whole lot of comments, and I'd like to have another couple weeks, and we can put this back on for Thursday, July 2nd at 7 p.m. or sometime thereafter. Is that all right with everyone else? Continue the public hearing, yeah.
At 7 o'clock, that's when our board meetings usually start. Did you want to do it at 6:30, or do we want to keep it at 7?
Oh, we're actually going to have 2 public hearings that night now, so we might as well start at 6:30 again, right? 6:30 sounds good. Would anyone like to make that motion?
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Brown, seconded by Councilwoman Voss. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay, so Billy, 6:30 p.m., all right?
And we will be taking comments in the meantime?
Yes, so anyone from the public who'd like to make a comment, you can email our town clerk at tstickles@townofmontgomery.com, TSTICKLES @townofmontgomery.com, and you can also make your comment at that next public hearing. From what I'm hearing, it's not yet going to be in person until at least July 7th, but it may be even later than that. So we're going to continue to get updates from the governor as we get them, but right now it would be again via teleconference public hearing on Thursday, July 2nd. Okay, moving right along to our public comment portion of the meeting. This is for public comment just on business of the board, our old business and new business items. Is there anyone from the public who is on the conference line still that would like to just make a general comment on any of the business of the board items? Okay. We are going to go on to our business. We are going to actually go out of order because we have a guest, the chair of the Town of Montgomery Conservation Advisory Committee, Patricia Hennigan, who I am proud to work with on the Tom Strong Green Team Heat Smart Montgomery campaign that we just established a couple weeks ago with the Valley Central Environmental Club. Thank you for your time and dedication, for making yourself available. I believe we're going to have you sit over there, and can we make sure the mic's on, Meg? Now, this is specifically related to the new business item number A. For those following on the agenda at home on Facebook, we just wanted to respect Patricia's time and move that item first on the agenda. So this is new business item A, Benedict Park plantings. And to give a little bit of background before we get into Patricia's statements, it was brought to our attention recently that there's some work being done at Benedict Park that was part of a contract that was first talked about in the fall of 2018. Shortly after that, a 5-year contract that was voidable by administration to administration was signed by Mr. Tom Owens and the town of Montgomery at that time. This was to do some work that is very specific to the contract. However, there was some miscommunication related to the conversation that took place in the fall of 2018 and the work that currently is being done. And specifically right now, there are some soybeans that have been planted. That is something that is not in compliance with the contract that was signed. However, I did listen to the recording of the minutes from September of 2018, and we did verify that both Mr. Owens and both Councilman Mark Hoyt and the board did discuss soybeans being planted in year 2. So that is something that was discussed at the meeting, and that it did not end up in the contract, but I did want to make that point of order since this is an item that has been discussed within the community, and I just think it's important that everyone have the facts, that although it is not in the contract, it was something that was discussed at that board meeting, and I did hear that video of the initial meeting. Patricia, I know that the CAC and the community garden has some strong feelings, as do many in the town, on both sides of this issue. So I'd love to have you take the floor and make your comments on behalf of the CAC.
Sure. I just wanted to give a little background in terms of our involvement with Benedict Farm.
I'm sorry, Patricia, can you speak directly into the mic? I'm sorry, just for everyone watching. You gotta go right into it.
Is that better?
Better, yep.
Okay. So I wanted to kind of just review a little bit how we've been involved with Benedict Farm, actually since it became a park. We actually did our first biodiversity assessment there that became part of our original natural resources inventory, which we are now in the process of revising and updating. We also started our Trees for Trips program there along the Muddy Kill in 2007. And since then, we have been doing Trees for Trips along the Muddy Kill, and now we've been working along the Walk Hill at Benedict Farm Park. And the point of, this is a program sponsored by DEC, and it provides trees and shrubs to provide a wildlife corridor, it flows down runoff, and it protects the banks from erosion. So this is an important program. We've had a lot of participation with the public with this program. And since then, the other part we've been working on there is improving bird habitat. We've had several consultations with the Mearns Bird Society. We've installed bluebird houses all along the park and along the side leading up to the community garden. We've also had a lot of public participation in that activity. In 2009, the community garden was established, and that was to allow people to grow their own food in an organic manner and while they're enjoying the beauty of the park. We've also been involved with many issues that came up with the park at different times. There were issues with not having trails maintained, with being concerned about the farmhouse, we had a sedge wren reported there that we worked with DEC to try to see if the grounds if the people maintaining the grounds could provide the right kind of habitat for the sedge wren. And one of our ongoing work was always working with the town to ensure that when the hay was cut, this would not destroy nesting, ground nesting birds like bobolinks and meadowlarks, grasshopper sparrows. And this has been an ongoing effort for a long time. We've had lots of communications with the town board and with the previous supervisors. The problem with the grassland birds is that we're losing 50 to 70% of our grassland species. Because part of the problem is that while we lose farmland, this has always provided a nesting site for these birds. And usually, if the farmland becomes used in a more intensive way, then the birds no longer can make use of it. We have a section under our new natural resources inventory entitled Meadows, Grasslands, and Shrublands, which goes through exactly the type of maintenance that has to be maintained in order to keep these birds. Let's see. So the other thing is, though, with the farmland, and studies have been done that show that when there's a shift to a monoculture, such as corn, soybeans, or winter wheat, this is no longer inviting habitat for grassland birds. They need a mixture of grasses and legumes that are usually found in hayfields, pastures, abandoned agricultural land, or where that type of grassland is. So in the process of updating our inventory, we've had the Orange County Planning Department do digitized maps for us. And one of our maps, entitled Protected Open Space, has as 3 of the protected areas municipal, county, and state park. And Benedict Farm Park is on this map. So we're defining this as a place where habitat is protected. And what happened when this person took over the field is really a travesty. You used to be able to walk along the road coming from the river and see beautiful waves of grass along the hills. You would have to just stop and admire it because it was so eye-catching. And now, all the gardeners and people have noticed as they drove up into the garden that you're faced with almost like an iron forest of purple grass that doesn't even move. It's stationary and rigid. Exactly, not the type of habitat that's going to induce any birds to enter them. And I think that in the original, I looked through the original goals for Benedict Farm Park, and the overall goal, I'm reading from one of the paragraphs of this section, says to balance active and passive recreational uses, to protect sensitive ecological areas, and implement restoration and management plans that enhance biodiversity. That is, manage mowing schedules for hay to protect grassland bird breeding potential, manage invasive species, and continue planting riparian buffer vegetation. So, as I said in the letter to the board, I feel like we have taken a beautiful place, a paradise that's so unique in terms of probably any place in this country, and really defied it in a horrible way. I mean, I have nothing against, farming, but this is not a farm, this is a park, and it should be treated like a park.
Thank you, Patricia. So obviously this is something that has gone back to 2018. I've been doing a ton of research on this. I've met with Patricia recently, as well as other members of the CAC and the community garden here at Town Hall. We are looking into this issue very much. Our farmer on the town board, Kristen Brown, has agreed to lead this effort with us to find out as much information as possible, continue to do research, identify the reality that the contract was broken, and we are doing 2 things. One, we informed, stop me if I say too much, we informed Mr. Owens he is to stop work immediately. He is not to spray any sort of herbicides or any material, do absolutely nothing for the foreseeable future until he has heard from us. And we are going to determine in the next few weeks how we're going to proceed. And I would let Kristen speak to anything else she'd like to as well in that matter, but we're both going to be working on this moving forward.
Just to be clear, Mr. Owens was informed in writing today.
Yes, I personally handed him the letter that was drafted by our attorney. So not only did we verbally say or not to spray anything on that field, he was handed it in writing from our town attorney.
Just that particular passage,
Thank you, I'm glad that.
what?
I did not get to read this before it got sent out, but I appreciate that it states under no circumstances are you to apply herbicides, pesticides, organic or inorganic material to the areas you have cultivated unless you receive written authorization to do so. So I do appreciate how that was written. That was written very well, because while you said herbicides or pesticides as well as fertilizers that could be applied, and just for the record, it is stated in the letter June 18th, 2020 to Thomas Owens. It's written very well.
And not just applying herbicides, pesticides, organic and inorganic material. It says you are directed to take no further action of any kind at Benedict Farm Park until further notice from myself or the town supervisor. So it was just, while we're trying to sort this out, and Councilwoman Brown will speak to more of this, essentially everything is on hold. There is no activity to take place there by pursuant to the contract or any other thing until we have a better fix on the course of action decided upon by the town board, which will be happening relatively soon.
Yeah, the goal is the next meeting in 2 weeks, July 2nd, and I know there are members of the CAC and the community garden worried about spraying taking place from now till then. So this is the action we took immediately to ensure in writing, both verbally and in writing, that does not happen, while we give ourselves a few weeks more time to research this and be thoughtful about it. One thing that is to be clear, since this is something that's been published and is on social media, the conversation that took place in 2018 in the fall, I did listen to the recording, as did Councilwoman Kristen Brown, and beans were mentioned by both a member of the town board here and also Mr. Owens as part of the work that was to be done. So that was not included in the contract. The contract was certainly not the same thing as part of the discussion. So we're working through it. We definitely want to be fair to all parties in terms of our due diligence. And hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we will get to where we need to be to move forward and take action as important.
Yes, I did. We did meet with Mr. Owens 2 days ago, was it then? Or yesterday?
Could have been yesterday.
I think it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, thank you. We have met with Mr. Owens. I have done a fair amount of research, including looking up the community garden rules, what you guys actually allow in the community garden. I know commercial, I know a lot of different farming practices from my background, whether you're looking at quote unquote, I think you mentioned industrial agriculture, or it was mentioned in the column in the paper, as well as, commercial, niche marketing, organic. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can farm a field, or you can work a field. So I have been actively working on that, and will provide different options to other board members for the meeting.
And we also appreciate the memo that was prepared by Richard and by, on behalf of the CAC, I want to say, correct? And there were 3 options given to the board that the board has received. So we don't want you to think that we've ignored that in any way. We're looking at everything. And I've gotten a minimum of 12 letters from residents. So we want a little bit more time to get more feedback from both sides as well, because it keeps coming in even 30, 40 minutes ago. So we feel like there's no harm over the next 2 weeks to dig into it a little bit deeper, as long as we have the knowledge and the protection that nothing will be sprayed, and that we have that buffer to get the information we need to make the right decision. Any other comments from the board on that? Okay. We will revisit this. Patricia, thank you so much for your coming in here and for your words. They're much appreciated. Looking forward to working with you on Heat Smart Montgomery.
Thank you.
Thank
Patricia,
you.
just quickly, I'm sorry. You mentioned earlier in your presentation, Patricia, about organic manner. Is it a requirement for the gardeners?
Yes,
It is organic?
it is organic.
Because my
yes.
daughter
They're not
had
allowed
a lot.
to use any kind of sprays or,
Is that certified? Do you have a letter that it's certified organic? I mean, that was a question that I
Yeah.
presented to the supervisor.
I don't think we pursued that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
It is the understanding of people who, garden there, that they don't use any kind of pesticide or herbicide. So they might, concoct, some vinegar spray or something like that, but not, definitely not.
You don't have that certificate.
Bound up or whatever.
Do you want to make a copy of the goals?
Yes, because I don't have my keys, so yes, it's got to be open.
Can I, before you leave, can I take a walk with you so I can make a copy of the goals of the park, the original
Sure.
goals?
Can you distribute that to the board members or at least to me? Thank you.
What
And,
I'll do is I'll scan it in, I'll scan it into everybody.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Patricia, I don't want you to think we're gonna, see you in 2 weeks and you'll have a decision. We want you to be heavily involved in the discussions. And I think moving forward, the way till we don't get into this mess again is by just communicating, just always being on the same page. All right?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Let me take a quick walk with you.
Will, I'm gonna go forward with our coronavirus update without you.
By all means, please.
Sounds good. Okay, so we have been working hard preparing to reopen to the general public. We've been meeting with department heads. I kind of probably sound like a broken record. We're waiting for the stage 4, phase 4 of reopening, which is when we plan to allow the general public back into the building. Things have been going in terms of staffing really well. Employees are coming back and getting into the swing of things, making sure their desks aren't piled with papers and that they're getting over a lot of the work that got piled up. So as we reopen the economy and as different storefronts are opening up and restaurants, our general public will be back allowed in the building. The goal right now, I believe phase 4 is going to be Tuesday, July 7th, or is that the 8th? I think it's the 7th. That's the day that we are looking forward to getting you back in here. And when you enter the building, we'll have a greeter. We'll be taking temperatures, non-contact temperatures, and we'll make sure that we have the appropriate social distancing and masks worn until the foreseeable future, as we are still currently in the middle of this pandemic. Does anybody have any questions and comments on that from a municipal standpoint?
Yeah, as far as the Benedict Park playground.
Oh, yes.
Stage 3, I think June 27th, they can open up their playground.
Yeah, we already opened up our bathrooms. Thank you, Billy Dunn and Sean and your crew for doing some of the things you've been doing to maintain that as well. But we would like to open up the playground starting the next phase, which is next Tuesday.
Right.
Yes, so that would be the 23rd, I want to say.
There's a sign up there that will be removed, the locks will be taken off, and we should put a sign up asking people to still keep social distance.
Yeah, definitely to maintain social distancing. However, I did walk that park, and it was pointed out to me, Sean, there's some, inside the park, some kind of pricker bushes and some poison ivy along the edge. Is there a way that we can make sure maybe one of the guys goes out there and weed whacks it or something?
Yeah,
Until we get our recreation and parks office in order?
you'll have to show me where it is. And
I will. I didn't catch it right away. Someone pointed it out to me. It was actually Mr. Owens when I was out there with him. And it seemed like if we cleaned it up a little bit before Tuesday, it would be good for us.
You mean the fence around the playground?
Yeah, it's actually inside the playground though. It grew from outside to inside the fence. So if a kid's kind of running around inside the playground, there's some prickers that he could get caught. It's hard to see unless you're really like looking hard at it.
And while you're doing that, Sean, the mulch that is in the playground has to be a certain height. I'm not sure if we're up to that right now.
I'd have to look. There is marks on the.
Yeah, there's marks on the equipment.
I think so.
What'd you say?
I don't think fire code would allow that to be locked from the inside, so.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Planning board appointments. We had interviews, and we actually interviewed some individuals based on us putting it back out there and getting some other applicants. We did not end up going with those new applicants, but I mentioned them because it was such a value to meet some of those people, and it's my goal to engage some of those individuals that we brought into the process by promoting it to other people, and they're going to be working on several other capacities here on a volunteer basis, and certainly are individuals that are qualified to be considered for appointments on other boards in the future. So I think it was Cindy who mentioned us putting it out there for other applicants. Great job, because we found some diamonds in the rough, I think, for the future. I'm meeting with one or two of them next week and the week after to engage them in other activities, so thank you for mentioning that. But then we did end up going with the original applicants we've had since the beginning of our advertisement of this process. So we are looking to have 3 motions. We'll start first with reappointing our chair of the planning board, Fred Reichel, for another term. And Tara, do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, it will be retroactive back to January 1st, 2020, and expire December 31st, 2022.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Cindy Voss, seconded by Councilwoman Sherry Melick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Our next appointment will be to reappoint Rose Pennings. And Tara, do you have that term off the
It
top?
will be the same as Fred. It's retroactive back to January 1st, 2020, and will expire December 31st, 2022.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Cindy Voss,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilwoman Sherry Melick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. And to fill the vacancy that was on our planning board, very much someone who's been attending our planning boards and certainly very passionate about the issues facing our town. We were very pleased to have a motion to appoint Cherie Sahakos to the Town of Montgomery Planning Board. And Tara, that term is?
Okay, so she's completing Bill Kelly's term, which is due to expire December 31st, 2020.
Okay. So she's filling the vacancy until the end of this year, and then she'll be up for reappointment in January. All right. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Kristen Brown,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Cindy Voss. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Congratulations to our reappointments and our new appointee. The next item on the agenda is Community Development Block Grant. We have been working through this process. We had our public hearing. We've been moving it quite along. We do believe we've identified a project and we are getting final feedback. It will be a sidewalk project. We're looking to border the village of Maybrook on the 208 corridor. We've been working with Mayor Leahy on it, and we do have some feedback from him, so we're going to evaluate that, and we're going to work through the process and make our motions and hopefully finalize that very soon.
We're all set on resolutions, right, to submit the grant, because we made that in the last board meeting.
Correct. Correct. Do you guys have any comments on the sidewalk project? Right now, Mayor Leahy is doing a lot within the village, and there's a lot of people that are kind of caught on that outskirts that could use the sidewalk accessibility to go to some certain shops that are there. It's also something we can do each year for a couple of years if we don't have a specific idea for a project and kind of make that corridor a little more accessible.
A lot of times I see a lot of people that are walking
Right.
in that area, and even if we continue up to 84 in the future, it seems like there's a lot of people that walk underneath the 84 bridge.
Yep.
And the Hawkins, and we walk up to ShopRite and back.
Yes.
The restaurants, the
Yeah.
McDonald's, Burger King, whatever.
So the homeowners will be responsible for clearing the snow, as they are in the village.
Honestly, that's a really good question.
Yes, once the sidewalk is installed, it becomes a responsibility of the property
Maybe they
owner.
have a choice in that, they just have to assume responsibility whether they want to or they don't want to.
Yes.
I think we talked to those individuals though, and we ought to get some feedback from them. They're probably going to be okay with
People that really
it.
can't shovel snow, and it's gonna be expensive.
Sure, but it'll also welcome people to traverse their, places.
And hopefully them too.
Yeah.
They live there and can walk. from their
The
home.
common areas will be shoveled by somebody from Sean's people, or
It's a state road.
Will it be in common
Well, there'll be areas that are not owned by, well, there might be right-of-ways, you mean, like that are state property? Because it's a state road, right,
well,
so,
you mentioned underneath the bridge.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Again, the portion that we're looking at, we'll get you guys a map of it. It's not under the bridge,
No, because it's not that far, because the project can't be that big.
correct,
That's
it's
what
closer
we're
to the
doing.
village. Yeah.
I thought we were starting at the village line is what we discussed.
I haven't looked at the map yet, but I want to say that's about right.
Did Mr. Farr give us an application deadline? We can check with him to make sure we get the application there on time.
We will. Worst case scenario, we have to have a special meeting, we will, but he did not address it as a need for this evening.
No, I understand. Let's just make sure we don't lose sight of the deadline.
For sure.
I thought it was this month, but I could be very well wrong. I think if we confirm with Jim, that would be better.
Okay.
They may have pushed it back. So.
I think they pushed it to July, Kristen.
You're right, yep, okay.
Okay.
It was extended because it
Yes.
was already passed.
Correct.
Yeah,
Like that,
correct.
yeah.
So let's just have somebody double check with Jim.
Sure, sure.
But the sidewalks will be on people's private property that they get currently as grass, or the sidewalks will be the continuation of the end of that private property to
Center line of the
center
street.
line of the street.
It depends how it's laid out.
We have a map. I'll ask Jim to get all that to the board before we take action on it, right? Okay, any other questions on that? Glad we actually have a project. That's a $125,000 grant there, so we didn't want to just have it go to waste. Okay, item D, authorization for supervisor to sign amendment to contract with Clean Air Quality Service, Inc., Berea Park Restroom Construction Contract Extension. So, for all those from Berea, yeah, Sean?
Jim, I just asked Jim, he said it's due next Friday, but he's submitting it Wednesday.
Okay, the project itself,
That's
The application.
the application.
with the specific project?
He didn't, I can ask him.
All right, I'll check with you guys. Worst case scenario, we'll figure that out. You
I
know,
can
we might have a
just-
teleconference or something. Yep.
Yeah, I can just add that, according to the email, we should be able to get 1,200 feet done within the $125,000 grant amount.
Okay.
It's closer to the village, and most of the area is commercial. But, so it would, yeah, most of the area is commercial.
Is that one side of the street or 600, both sides of the street?
According to the map, it looks like all on one side of the street, across
Yeah.
from Yellow Freight on Homestead Avenue.
We didn't want to do both sides because then you gotta worry about crosswalks and stuff, so.
And that was discussed how they would be able to cross, because we were looking at other locations, but got tied up in how we would cross streets.
Correct. So it would be one side of the street, and it would be just something that we would start and then further develop over a period of years.
Future maintenance of the sidewalks, i.e. shifting cracks, is it homeowner's responsibility or the?
I would say the sidewalks would be the homeowner's responsibility. Okay.
There's been a history of nightmares of sidewalks, believe me.
No, I believe you. Okay, I'll get back to you guys on that when I speak with Jim. If we need to have a special teleconference to talk about it, we will. All right? Yeah, Sean, you were gonna say something about Berea? You raised your hand, right?
No, I was telling you about Jim.
Oh, about Jim, sorry, okay. So, Berea Park Restroom Construction Contract Extension. For those that recall, this was the fact that the Berea bathroom facility that was being built was supposed to be done by June, but then coronavirus pandemic happened. So we reworked the contract and amended it to allow for it to be extended. Ron, help me with this. The date for completion is now
October 31st.
October 31st. Instead of June, what was it, June
30th.
30th? So I know that's a very important, popular topic with our youth sports in terms of Berea and having that bathroom facility in, so we are acting to move that along. I know Sean, you and your team have been out there helping Lou out.
We dug the water line.
Awesome.
We did shale, we were about 3 days jackhammered shale, but we're through it and waiting on him to install it now.
Awesome. So we hopefully will have this built before October, but that will be the date in the contract that it has to be done by. Is that correct, Ron?
Yeah, and the contact sports, football is that's gonna be questionable whether they can even start that in the fall.
Yeah.
Stage 4, I'm not so sure football's gonna be part of that.
Right now, football is not part of stage 4, neither is basketball. The governor's still waiting on those two sports, and I think a few other. Correct.
So that's gonna hold up the most precious blood program.
Yep, the Most Precious Blood Summer League right now is held up. They're looking to start in July. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Okay, so anyone want to make a motion to authorize me to sign that contract?
So
The amendment to the contract to extend the completion date of the Berea Park bathroom projects through and including October 31, 2020.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sherry Millick,
Second.
seconded by Deputy Supervisor Ron Feller. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. We've already gone through new business A, Benedict Park plantings, so now we're going to go to water district extension request. Will, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure. We have received an application to extend the water district number 2B of the town. I'm just trying to find the name of the applicant. The Estate of Anders Skibitsky, for a development project on Bracken Road. The extension of the water district is sought for fire suppression only. They need that subject, it's a subject of their planning board approval to have fire suppression from the public water system. We have the petition in good form submitted in June. We have the map plan and report prepared by Mercurio, Norton, Tiroli, and Marshall. Mr. Feller did point out a typo. This is obviously Orange County, not Sullivan. This involves tax map parcel section 23, block 1, lot 36.2. It is a 3-lot commercial subdivision. Lot 1 is a 74,000 square foot warehouse. Lot 2 is a 59,000 square foot warehouse. Lot 3 contains a 1,000 square foot office and gravel storage yard. We'll get into this more at the public hearing, but they're anticipating the only water demand would be for fire suppression, which would just be at normal fire flow rates, 1,500 gallons per minute if it was ever necessary.
How many gallons?
1,500 gallons per minute on fire suppression. And all costs would obviously be borne by the applicant, and that will all be covered at the public hearing. They've already received subdivision, special exception use, and site plan approval for the project, which was received in the town clerk's office in February of this year. And the only issue for this evening is to schedule the public hearing. And that's up to the board to set a date. We have enough time to get it on for July 2nd, if the board is so inclined. That's what I have here.
I would support us setting a date for a public hearing for Thursday, July 2nd for 6:30 p.m. or sometime thereafter.
What time is our other public hearing?
6:30 p.m. or sometime thereafter.
So we need to schedule at different times? Or should
Well,
we
you
just
can
say-
just say 6:30 or as soon thereafter as
Okay.
it can be heard.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Sherry Melick, seconded by Councilwoman Cindy Voss. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried.
Yeah, can we just, the applicant has submitted just this evening the order calling for the public hearing. So if we could just poll the board on that, please.
Sure. Yay? Councilman Voss?
Sorry.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
You're very welcome.
The town clerk and I will work together on the public hearing notice and all necessary requirements. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll get it on social media and we'll promote it with the same call-in number, email, usual works.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Sean, you're up. Highway Garage. I know that Kristen and Ron were there with you interviewing the firms, so thank you to both of you for taking the time to do that.
So, as you all know, we put the bid out on January 23rd. The bids were due back by March 11th. We had 11 applicants put in. They range from $296,000 to $498,000. It was for design and oversight of the entire project. Obviously, the first part is the design part is the big part in the beginning. It will take up to about 6 months. That's kind of a general consensus on all of the applicants. We did interview the bottom 3, the lowest 3, and we also interviewed one other company that was a local company from right here in Montgomery, to see if we could possibly keep it local. At the end of the process, I reviewed all of the things that were submitted, all the RFPs. Jim Farr and I worked a lot of hours on going through the process and figuring out what was best, who made the most sense, and we came down to Lamont Engineers. They are actually based out of Cobleskill,
Yes.
but they have a substation or another office in Saugerties. They have a very, very impressive resume. They're actually building a highway garage right now for the town of Oneonta. It's almost the same identical thing we're looking for. They designed it and they're seeing the oversight of that right now. When they came very prepared. They actually gave that to me, the blueprints for it. Just very impressive all the way through. Their resume was spot on. They specialize in municipal engineering. That is their main thing they do. They do firehouses, highway departments, town halls, ambulance corps. They've done everything, and they were really second to none. I mean, they were very impressed. They came very prepared. I'm sure Kristen and Ron can probably speak on that too. They were hands down the best applicant. They weren't the lowest. They were actually second lowest bidder, but I think their resume speaks for itself, and the town will be getting a very, very good deal by going with this applicant.
Obviously, this is a professional service, so you do not have to go with the lowest responsible. You go with who's the most suitable applicant to do the job, and certainly from the vetting process that went through here, both Deputy Supervisor and Councilwoman Brown can speak to that.
I'd like to hear from both Councilman Brown and Deputy Supervisor Feller as well.
As Sean said, there was 4 applicants that we spoke to individually, and we narrowed it down to 3 at that time. There was a consensus by the 5 or 6 of us. I thought there was a consensus. Krista, myself, Jim, Sean, Blaine was there. That since we're asking them to redefine and rebid, we gave them 21 items, specific items, to break down their application for bid. Because the initial submissions, some had a little bit of this and others had a little bit of that, and we wanted to compare oranges and apples with apples. So there was pretty much 21 items of work, so they gave detailed breakdown of their cost. At the time, it was my contention that if we
maybe a little bit closer to you.
if we asked these 3 applicants to bid, that we would in fact go with the lower bidder. That's what I said. But I'm a firm believer of not asking somebody to bid, and if he's a low bidder and he doesn't get the award, and for other reasons, they shouldn't be asked to submit a bid, in my opinion, if we're not going to accept them. If we have a preconceived idea, or if we look after the fact, look at the resumes, who has a better resume. Without a doubt, Lamont has built garages, and a low bidder did not. The low bidder has done a lot of extensive work, though. There is a 10% difference between the high bidder, the low bidder, and the second bidder. And that 10% is, we took the well out, $15,000 of additional monies, we took that out of that bidder. So and we didn't take any money out of the well out of the second bidder, of the low bidder, which was only $2,000. So you got a discrepancy of, not a discrepancy, you got a 10 to 12% difference in the low bidder and the recommended bidder. I certainly will defer to Jim Farr in his engineering expertise, what he thinks, who is a better contractor, and I will also defer to Sean, who's going to live there for the next 20 years. But it is my contention that it's my contention, I mentioned this last week, or 2 weeks ago, that if we ex Molten to bid and Quality to bid on repairing a car, and one comes in 50% lower than the other one, but we take the higher one because for some reason we don't want to take the lower one. It's my contention, don't ask those people to bid if we're not going to really analyze their bid and accept them. So for that reason, I would not go with Sean's recommendation. I would go with the low bidder. Like I said, there's 21 items here. The first 8 items are like nuts and bolts, and they're within 2 or 3%, very close to each other, a couple $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000 on 175,000. And there's another 12 items, which is the numbers go all over the place. And for example, a well, 15,000 versus 2,000. Well, I just got a well built for 3,000. Didn't include the pump, but potable water, 3,000. I know it's not commercial. I did 185 feet. This is 100 feet. The person who bid 2,000 is probably closer to the right number. Might be 5, might be 6. It's not going to be 15. There's also another area in here that we go from 21,000 to 3,000 on. For example, final site design documents. We go from 21,000 to 12,000. So you got $9,000 variation. I'm not sure. I've done bids before. You can put them. You have to make money someplace. You want to put it down on the lower end, and we accept that. You know, that's where you make your money. If you want to load up another end, you know, we can't cherry pick. In my opinion, maybe we can. I think Sean mentioned that and Jim mentioned that we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. It's called cherry picking, and it's not the right way to do business, and it's not the right way to have a reputation of it. When I ask somebody to bid, they're going to take item A, B, C, D, and F from this company. Why don't we just say we'll take your item, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, we'll take 4, 5, 8, 9, 7 from over there, so we get the best of both of us. So that's my feeling. Like I said, I will defer to both Jim and to Sean on their expertise. And I thought Lamont did a great job making his presentation. I also thought the low bidder is a local person, a local company. And apples to apples, I'd always rather deal with a local company rather than somebody coming down from Strawberries. That's what I got.
Kristen?
Okay, so.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes, I was also there when we interviewed the 4 companies. I did make, I love my sticky notes. I had sticky notes of questions and loose leaf papers with all sorts of information. Like I said, we did interview 4 companies. One company, and we tried to compare, for me, it was their experience, right? I mean, we're looking for some pretty finicky things. We're not looking for just a garage. We're looking for a highway garage that has a catwalk over top of a wash bay. We're looking for an oil water separator, because when you have an internal wash bay, that's something that you have to have as a way to deal with the wash water from these vehicles. So, and really that's part of our issue that we're dealing with now, because the salt water in that wash bay is eroded out the concrete, as we've all seen. So these are more specialized items to me when we interviewed each one of the engineers or each one of the companies specifically. The one company, yes, we decided we were not going to continue on to the next phase, and that one was not. We did not ask for further information from. The next one I will say was Jason Anderson. I really appreciated him coming out. He was quite a bit higher, and we did have a good conversation with him as to why his bid was higher. He is a local right here in Montgomery, but he really broke out. His bid was much more substantial with individual numbers versus the other bids, and that was very helpful going through with Jim Farr and Sean of, well, why was this number higher? Because he had subbed out to other companies, and those other companies quoted it quite a bit higher in his bid, and that's what he felt also pushed the number higher. as well as different work products. A 3D scan was included, that was $5,000 extra. Automated technology, different things could be changed, we discussed, so on and so forth, but I won't money or continue on. But he is a local guy, you know, but he was, Sean, what was the number, like?
He was almost 100,000.
I thought it was 100,000, but I don't have these exact numbers, but, you know, like I said, I really appreciated him coming out, him having the conversation with us, but I can't spend an extra 100,000. It's just really tough for me to answer to our local taxpayers for that. So when it came down to Lamont Engineering versus Menuda, to me, like I said, I really go based on experience. And we did get the email from Jim Farr that said a list of experience, but for me, it's highway garages because my dad being a mechanic in a highway garage, I know the specialty. It's not just a coal barn. It's really a building that you need to work in every day. And, you know, Mr. Menuda works with Mark Fellenzer, thank you. You know, it seemed like Mr. Fellenzer might have had more experience than Mr. Menuda. I did ask him very pointed questions of what his experience was. I wasn't really comfortable with the answer that he had given me. For his experience levels, I would have really appreciated to hear more of exact examples. So then we get to Lamont Engineering. You know, in their proposal, the references were the Village of Athens Highway Garage for 4,500 square foot, a $1.2 million cost. The town of Butternuts Highway Garage, 7,200 square feet for $750,000, and the town of Oneida, right? I spelled that wrong. Highway garage for a $3 million cost. Again, these are all highway garages. Some of the other bids had salt sheds, had fuel storages, had, you know, different auxiliary structures, but I was really looking specifically at a highway garage. So, you know, I can understand NWD supervisor's issue with not going with the lowest bidder, but I've dealt with bids for 9 years of my life in Orange County Soil and Water, and sometimes you have to go with the most qualified or to me, I have to go with the most qualified that, you know, really has the experience. And I was able to look at the plan set that Sean has in front of him quickly while we were on site. And, you know, without diving deeper, I can't say that it's perfect, but I appreciated that he brought that to the table and said, this is what I've done. So here, take a look, this is my experience. I was very concerned that they were at a Cobleskill. I went to college there, so that's about 2 hours away. So, but, you know, then once they said that they had an office in Saugerties, well then that's not as much travel. So for me, with the experience level that they have, with the garages that they have designed, I would speak with Sean's recommendation to do Lamont Engineering. Do you guys have any questions for us? Because we were the ones that spoke with them directly.
I think you both just did a great job presenting that. I mean, I did have a conversation with Sean and also heard Sean's opinion and Jim Farr felt, so we spent a lot of time researching all of this, so.
Sherry, what do you think?
I mean, you're talking about a lot of money here to give that amount of money to somebody that's never done this before. It's hard, and this guy's done it all day long. That's like if you're gonna have a surgery, you want a doctor that does it all day long or somebody that's never done it. You know, that's the way I look at it.
I want Dr. Gray.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta make a decision.
Even though it is a couple dollars more, I think it's well worth the difference. And I mean, who's to say that the other guy won't come back and say, well, I underbid that, you know, I guess they really can't, but they can always try to get extras, you know?
You can't assume extras, but either one of the contractors might want to get extras, I agree with that. There's one health department application. Isn't that a set fee? Why is one twice as much as the other? I mean, either somebody didn't do their homework. Isn't it health department application
Should be the same.
I think they're talking about preparation of the application.
So it takes one company twice as much time. I guess.
It
I
may.
think their secretary more money.
Okay.
What I was
Probably
gonna,
because they're more experienced, they've done it before.
what I was gonna say is,
I would think the local guy might have a better idea what the health department wants than somebody from another county.
Is that the state health department that they work with?
It's his health department application.
Will, you were gonna say something?
what I was gonna say, and I've spoken very briefly to Sean about this, assuming that the contract is awarded this evening to whichever one of these engineers for the services, everything remains negotiable because we haven't signed a contract. To the deputy supervisor's point, if Jim finds that one of these or a couple of these numbers need to be looked at and potentially reduced, we can do that in preparing and signing the final contract. So this is really, at this stage, this is the award of the town board to proceed to the next step, which is going to formal retainer and contract.
Right, which
So-
maybe you can
Yes,
talk for.
and Jim and Sean and whoever is gonna be involved in that, we can look at some of that, because again, it's professional services and those numbers can be dealt with.
Can I ask, obviously, we've talked about how we're gonna pay for the garage going forward.
We're looking on it, yeah.
How are we gonna pay for this? Because obviously we've gotta do this before we get to that point, or does this become part of that?
Bonding, part of the engineering cost would be part of the bond.
All of the engineering.
Sorry, I meant to say all of the engineering costs would be part of the bond, yes.
When the bond issue goes out for the which our bond counsel will do, they do a breakdown. They ask us for the report of all of the anticipated expenses, and we fold in the engineering cost and legal, and of course the structure and everything, the equipment and everything goes into the bond.
So if we decide we're gonna bond this in April of next year, most of the stuff can't happen until we execute that bond, and then the services would be provided.
Yes.
So they wouldn't start this
No.
till that point?
No, not until we have the financing set and how we're gonna pay for it.
And knowing that they're willing to lock into these fees,
Even if it's
knowing
here.
this is being
I don't
done
know that
next
they know
year.
that. I don't know that they know that. Sean, did you discuss that with
Usually
them?
a bid
I
is due for 180 days, 90 days, 60 days,
We were
something.
talking 365 days.
No,
Yeah.
Well, some of this can be recovered from, if the town does some of the preliminary expenses.
You have this in your budget, Sean, to move forward?
Quite a jump.
Bond, it's a bond.
It is paid, it's not paid a lump sum
Right.
fee.
Right.
They're gonna bill out as it goes, whatever company it is, they just
Right.
bill as they do certain things. So some of this stuff you might not pay for it till next year anyway.
Yeah.
It's a 6-month design, so.
I think if they get the bid, they'll be willing to work with us, whoever it is, with our time frame.
Yep.
Let's run down. Ron, do you wanna tell us which you'd like to prefer, then we'll go Kristen, Sherry, Sydney, and before we make a motion?
Well,
Why don't you just, if I may, Mr. Supervisor, why don't you just make a motion, have it seconded for discussion, and then we'll
Motion to what?
approve
I'll
the
make-
contract of, approve the town board entering into a contract with Vermont Engineering for the design and administration of the new highway.
I don't think we voted on them.
Right, I think there was a discussion about both, that's why I wanted to finish that discussion and then.
Okay, but I think from what I heard, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that we enter into the contract with Vermont Engineering for,
I'll second that.
Second for discussion, because I think
Sure.
Deputy Supervisor wants to.
Motion made by Councilwoman Kristen Brown.
do you need an amount in that motion? I think I was kind of saying
I don't
$147,000.
think we were gonna do an amount, it was just gonna be
Award the bid?
pretty much picking the person because we're gonna negotiate some of
Award the
it.
bid subject to final contract negotiated by the town.
Motion made by Councilwoman Kristen Brown, seconded by Councilwoman Sherry Melick.
Not to exceed, I'm sorry, do we put not to exceed a certain amount, so that obviously we're gonna negotiate down, but it won't be more?
That's a good one.
Will?
327.
Yeah. Consider that part of the motion.
327 does not include the well.
Which we put in the RFP that the town was gonna take care of the well. because we have so many local contractors right here that do it. Originally, Ricky Tompkins gave us a price on doing a well last year when our fire truck broke. I want to say it was around $5,000.
So you want to try to use a local source and knock down that number? That makes
Which
sense.
we took it off already.
So it's knocked down.
Out of that
15,000.
327,
That was a big discrepancy, 15 versus 2.
Right.
So obviously, neither one of them did the homework on that.
Because I don't think you could do it for 2. You know, not.
100-foot well you can do for $2,000 without the pump and not commercial.
I think it's still subject to prevailing wage because it's a municipal contract.
Well, it takes a well company 2 hours to drill a well.
You know better than
Prevailing
me.
wage,
Yeah.
if you want to give them prevailing wage for 2 hours, don't worry about that. I mean,
Is that how it
the
works?
bid I got is 40 foot of casings, X amount of dollars per foot, 185 foot of well, X amount of dollars per foot. And then
Gotcha.
DEC permits, blah, blah, blah. So
Okay.
it didn't have a man-hour rate.
All right. We have a motion on the table. Sorry?
Can we make that motion to not to exceed
Yeah, I was-
$327,000?
Yep, I was getting there. So the motion on the table is to award the bid to Lamont Engineering not to exceed $327,000.
Excluding the well.
Excluding the well and subject to execution of formal and final negotiated contract.
Motion made by Councilman Kristen Brown, seconded by Councilwoman Sherry Melick. Discussion. Any discussion? All right.
Take a roll call on this.
Sydney?
I vote yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'm going to abstain. I have a relationship with one of the individuals, so I just felt like it was important for me to disclose that and just abstain from the vote. So it passes 3-1 with 1 abstention. Congratulations, Lamont.
And
Sean?
no.
I said 3-1, right?
That's true.
Three yes, 1 no. No by Deputy Supervisor Feller, yes by Councilman Brown, Councilman Melick, and Councilwoman Voss, and 1 abstention for myself. The motion passes. Sean, please do the honors, and yourself and Jim, and letting them know that they received the bid. And I would love to make a personal phone call myself to congratulate them if you have a point of contact for me.
I do have a business card out. I can get the information.
I'll let you do the honors, but would love to then follow up and welcome him to the, to the town.
Please also thank the other companies for the interviews and their hard work on that.
I plan on sending even to everybody else that put in just for their time. I mean, they have a
I have it all set.
You have it set, okay.
Forwarding it, and I have the letter all set, and then we let the other ones know who didn't get it.
Great, thank you, Tara.
You're confident.
Thank you, and I just wanted to make a personal phone call as well. All right.
Thank you.
Ron and Kristen, thank you so much for your time working with Sean and Blaine and Jim. Thank you. All right, great job, everybody. Moving on to D, Ambulance Corps update. Sherry Melick and myself have been hard at work. We brought in Will Frank recently, and we want to let you know that part of our long-term sustainable solution to the Ambulance Corps is, this is just something that's shared by the Town of Montgomery Ambulance Corps as well. We are going to endeavor into studying and presenting to this board and to the Ambulance Corps a process that will lead to the potential formation of an ambulance district. We believe with the current setup of the ambulance industry and how it works and how it's funded, it is unsustainable to continue going with the amount of payments that are provided based on Medicare and Medicaid and how it all works. Creating an ambulance district will allow for an environment to exist where you can execute a budget, know what you have in your account, and it makes life just a whole lot easier. And there's a lot of other advantages that we can't get into this evening, but we will absolutely be detailing them when we present a report, hopefully in the near future. Will, myself, and Sherry are contemplating a bunch of different avenues we can go to conduct that report and really do our due diligence to present to this board and the Ambulance Corps how we're going to do this moving forward. There's a lot of issues that surround ambulance services in the town of Montgomery. It's not just the town of Montgomery Ambulance Corps, there's Mobile Life, there's other private companies. There's the challenges of finding individuals who are willing to work the jobs to provide the services. We have weighed all of that. We have hit a lot of different issues that the ambulance corps is facing here in the town, including its infrastructure, including finding a new home, and looking at all of the potential challenges and hardships. Sherry and I believe, and the ambulance corps membership believe together, that this is a path. It's got a lot of things to wiggle out, but this is a path, the path that we should consider moving forward.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is not similar to a fire district, it's similar to a sewer or water district.
Correct. So this is not the same as a fire
district.
district. It has much different stipulations. I will let Will speak to that a little bit better than I will, if you like. If you like.
Sure. The difference is, one of the fundamental differences is in a fire district you have elected fire commissioners. In a situation with an ambulance district, the financial controls would essentially remain with the town board. And based on what we're seeing and the requests that have, without getting into too much detail, which a supervisor can do, and he already said the current financial situation is untenable. So when a district like this is formed, it would be town-wide. The finances would be handled by this board and administered. We also have, as everyone agrees, the key, whoever's paying for it, the key is the best response time, advanced life support, basic life support. Those are things that we're already working hard with the ambulance company, and they're on board with what needs to be done for the town, because their goal and their best interests have always been the care of the residents of the town and making sure they get to a hospital or whatever care they need. Anything that this town board is presented with is going to have that in mind first and foremost. Of course, the finances are critical. We can't keep going, and quite frankly, you can't just keep writing checks to anybody.
Right.
And this board has discussed that, and money has been allocated for a portion of the year, and as the supervisor and everyone has spoken about already, that money has already been depleted substantially, and we're June 18th.
For
so
sure.
The money, of course, is one of the major components. Getting the best response time and the ambulance care needed to the residents is going to be the main goal of whatever undertaking we do. Right now, an ambulance district is probably the best way to accomplish that. You're correct. It's different than a fire district. The control would remain with this board and future boards. And that's the preliminary items. Those are the preliminary items that we're working on right now, putting together the best way to present a plan that's available to the public, because there's obviously the public process here that we have to go through in district formation, and working with the ambulance company and all of the factors. There's so many factors that are going to have to be taken into consideration. The care, the vehicles, the equipment, the housing of the vehicles, whether that's going to be something that's done here in one of our buildings, building 2, many, many things. But the supervisor and Councilwoman Mellick have been working on this thing together, which I think has been very positive. So we're moving forward in that direction with other people involved in the conversation.
Yeah, we have the ambulance corps members themselves. We have financial consultants that do work with auditing other ambulance corps throughout the Hudson Valley. We have local residents like Mike McNamee, who's been helping to do research and lead the way as well. So we try to take a collection of individuals from the community, from the town board, from the ambulance corps, and also that are just outside of the industry that maybe we've tried to just bring in to give us advice. So it's certainly been a learning curve. This is what we believe is in the best interest to find a long-term solution, and let's also be realistic with our time frame. If we decide to go this route, it still wouldn't take place until January 1, 2022 anyway. So if we're thinking it's unsustainable for the town to continue to just write checks the way we're doing it, if we can make this decision and we can do the due diligence and put a report together, we still are going to have to budget for the ambulance corps next year, similarly to how we're doing it this year. So we want to act soon so that it's ready for fiscal year 2022. And that's something that everybody should keep in mind as well.
And one of the other things that we've been talking about, there are resources and some money available to us from outside agencies and sources that will help us put the plan together.
Correct.
I think we talked about that last time.
We did. And there's a lot to work through here. But we've gotten a great head start. While we've been discussing and getting that head start, we've been financially assisting our ambulance corps, which is something I would like to continue to do. As you all have gotten the reports, they do have some money in the account. They did receive PPP support, but they've been still hurting in terms of paying their bills. So we did receive 2 specific bills. One, just over $33,000 for workers' compensation, that was the insurance policy. And then we had $12,846.10 for workers' comp insurance that was due previously as well. So I've been in discussions with the ambulance corps. They would have loved to have received a check this evening. I'm still working with them on that. I went to submit one of the bills and I got a red flag because we would have been over the balance that's left. So out of our a line that we funded, we have $27,492.19. The bills that we have currently for them that they're asking us to support and pay total closer to $48,000. So I worked with Bernard, and we've been under budget in a couple areas, specifically in our Parks and Recreation line, because we did not hire a couple of people that we were supposed to hire just yet. And also there's a lot of work that hasn't been done. So there is about $120,000 left in that line currently for this fiscal year. We could transfer an amount, perhaps $24,000, $25,000, to give us a little bit of wiggle room should another bill emerge that just has to get paid. Certainly we don't want to do too much. But would like to be able to make that transfer this evening so that in 2 weeks' time, we can write those 2 large checks totaling $40-something thousand.
$47,645.
$47,645.
Give or take.
Only June, so we're
I know.
gonna have to.
It's not.
Here's 2 more bills. I'll pass them down to you that I was actually handed by the ambulance corps today.
We're not. Honestly,
No, I was supposed to
good.
just hand them over to you. Those I didn't get to before because they were in my pile of stuff. But those are 2 more bills for
I think it's just
$4,600 and $4,400.
Yeah, I think it's just to show also that they had more bills coming in. So they do have over $40,000 between both of their accounts. They've been using the money that they bring in to pay their payroll, because ambulance corps are not able to operate on just a volunteer basis anymore. So volunteer ambulance corps are now paying staff. In order to compete and find staff to answer calls, they need to be competitive. So our ambulance corps invested in full-time staff this year, and volume has been way down because calls have been way down. So although they did get PPP, they are still not in a great place because they're losing even more revenue than they've been losing, to no fault of their own in that front. And we're in a position where we're operating to find a long-term solution, but in the interim, it's not a pleasant situation. And our ambulance corps works their butt off. They work their butt off. They work very hard. They're working in a pandemic, and we're seeing what's in their account. We know the challenges that exist, so I would ask for the board support to do a budget transfer. Let me work through the numbers real quick one more time.
Yeah, I would be interested to know how we arrive at a number. I mean, what's left in the.
Well, we don't want to transfer too much.
Right. That's
right,
what I'm
'cause
wondering.
Yeah. Then it's it's there. Gotta spend it. So.
Is what they
I mean, I
asked.
know we don't wanna keep going to the well and doing
I almost would
transfers,
prefer.
but we could.
I almost would prefer to do it that way. So if it's 27 in there and we do another 20, let's say 25, that gives us a little something still left in that ambulance account, not at just 0.
What did they ask for? What were the two? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Will stated it. Go ahead, Will, you can say it again.
47, call it 47,645 between the
Excuse me.
plus your workers' comp and their commercial insurance package.
Yeah, so if we transfer 25, there's still a couple thousand left in there, Kristen.
Yeah, we're looking at, okay. Yeah, because that would give us 52,000 in the pot.
Maybe 47,645. Yeah.
Minus 52.
And we'll,
What happens if we don't pay their bills? This started out as 100,000, it's gonna be 300,000 by the end of the year.
33.55.
we feel good about some of the revenue that they expect coming in. Our conversations with them have not at all been $300,000. Our conversations with them have been, and Sherry, you can recall this as well, that they may not need a whole lot more after this. These are big bills that they
They
have to
don't,
pay.
for some reason, for the first couple of months of the year, they don't get any revenue.
Well,
at all.
Medicaid doesn't pay.
Right.
So Medicaid shuts down
And
because
that's
they
a
go
lot
into
of their calls
IRS.
is Medicaid and Medicare.
So they do plan to get some funding.
Towards the middle or end.
We may not
Yeah.
have to have a larger sum like these for the rest of the year, and that's our hope. But we're here where we are now.
But, I mean, with COVID happening, I think it's more along the lines that the transports are down, which
Yes.
is where they make a lot of their money,
Mhm.
is actually transporting, not actual going to call volumes.
Yep.
But I think it's important, I support this moving forward because it really sets a path for the future and doesn't leave them in limbo. If the board changes, if a supervisor changes, or the council people changes, you know, now they have a new battle of educating new people and how they're going to remain sustainable in the future. You know, Ron, I definitely see your point as to much that you can't keep funding, but you know, historically looking back, I've heard from some older people that this has been the ambulance corps in the town of Montgomery has been an issue for many times. And when a bill didn't get paid and the insurance policy got pulled and a motorcycle event had to be put on hold until Mobile Life could come there. And that is my fear, as I've said here many times. If their insurance policies aren't paid and they get pulled off, the insurance gets pulled, what happens? Because I know when I don't pay my insurance policy, they send me a nasty ring saying, we're gonna suspend you. Oh, thank you.
Can I ask the dates on this insurance policy? Like, what's the term for this policy? And also workers' comp, like, what are we paying for?
Sure.
I
No,
have until next year this time?
So the workers' comp stuff I don't have on me, so we're gonna get that to you. And I will make sure it gets circulated to the entire board. You guys ask your questions, we'll get you answers. We will certainly get you any answers you need before we put this in the audit for the next meeting.
Do you have a copy of the insurance binder?
I do not have it on me, it's in my computer.
Okay, I just wanna make sure you have
I
it.
do have a
If not, I
copy,
would give you a
yes,
copy.
nope. And I wanna say all of you should have that in your emails, and if you don't, I'll make sure you get it. But I thought I forwarded that one to you 10 days ago or so. So it could be that it just wasn't in your packet on Monday.
Yeah, just,
This 35,000 is from now till next year at this time. I mean, that would be a plus too.
I'll find out.
It is a year's policy.
I'll find out, I'm pretty sure that could be.
expiration of 6/1/2021, effective 6/1/2020.
So there you go, Cindy.
And it's
That's
for
some help.
Yeah.
3 ambulances and 2 locations.
Yeah.
Is what it states on the policy that I'm looking at right here.
And I mean, it looks like workman's comp is, it says below the balances for the year, but is that for all of this year? Sounds kind of-
I'll find out. I'll find out what their, pretty sure their fiscal year, yeah, I'll find that out.
The PPP money that you spent before, I'm not very familiar with that program,
Sure.
but that's just for payroll, right? That
Correct.
cannot go towards any.
No, it's 65% payroll, the rest
It's utilities and payroll.
change.
It's utilities and payroll, but,
But it can't go
And
towards
rent.
expenses in the
Interest.
ambulance.
No.
Yes, rent,
It can go to rent,
Yep.
I mean,
interest on mortgage if one out of
Oh,
mortgage.
really? Yeah.
but they
They don't
don't
pay.
have those.
They don't have those.
So it's gonna be rent, it's gonna be utilities and payroll.
Okay. But it can't go towards like the supplies in their ambulances and stuff like that they're using.
They can't claim that.
Well, not according to the rules right now. I mean, they've already changed it once,
Oh,
but.
really?
But also, they received their PPP and they're already depleting, so the 54 is like, you know what I mean, so
They're paying people with it.
it's gone. It's not gone fully, but it's just about, it's going to be gone very shortly.
And the amounts and the balances that we have in front of us, I don't
At
know if
the
they
end-
include payroll.
You know, at the end of the day, at the end
I
of the
think
day,
that one account is only
Yeah,
I think you're right, Sherry.
key bank.
The
Are
key
the
bank.
libraries open?
Are libraries open? I don't believe so now.
So we give money to each and every library too, don't we? Which they haven't. They're not open, they're not using it. Why are we taking Parks and Rec? That was the one that popped out?
But there's several, that's a line that has money in it, yeah,
There's a lot of lines that have money in it.
that's true.
And Sherry,
Before we pull money out from make a transfer into the ambulance, I like to go over the accounts and come up with another recommendation.
We would have to have a special meeting prior to,
I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about if we decide to pull money out again.
okay,
Just don't arbitrarily take it out of Parks and Rec.
we didn't arbitrarily do that. We looked
How
at
many other accounts did you look at?
We looked at a bunch of accounts, and that was the one that I selected because I happen to know that we have the ability to pull from that account. But we didn't just look at that one account, and that was it, no.
and PPE did change, it started out 25.75, but they did go back and,
60/40.
yeah, they went back and changed that, so it is different, but it's still mostly payroll.
They're gonna
They'll
spend
probably
it.
use 100%.
It's gonna be a grant. They could use it all on payroll. That's most of their bills is payroll. And to be clear about why that is, they invested in full-time employees, and they made a change this year to be competitive and to find good people that they could keep and retain in the business, because these workers work like dogs and then they don't get paid a lot of money. So you can make an argument that that was the right thing to do. The problem is the revenue wasn't there to support the business plan, but people need an ambulance. So it's just, we're working through it.
Well, the
You know?
good thing, it will end up being a grant, so I mean, that'll help us
Yes,
too.
they won't have to pay it back, right?
That'll help us.
Okay, so would you guys like to,
I'll make the motion to transfer what are you looking for, a
I got
motion
you.
for it to work on the ambulance district or to do the transfer? I think we need a motion for both, right?
what do you mean? No, we don't need a motion for the ambulance.
There's no motion.
Okay, we're just,
The work is ongoing,
Okay.
exploring the district.
What we wanted to do while we also spend more money on the ambulance is let the public know we have an idea for a solution that will not keep us in this position for many, many years.
we'll probably be in it for another year though, right?
That's
We gotta
correct.
look at it when we're doing our budgeting for next year.
This will be put in the budget the same way for next year, yes. So we'll have to identify what that number's gonna be and be realistic with it. Okay, so the lines that we would take from are, we would be taking from A711.0400, $25,000, and transferring to A4540.0400. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I think Kristen did.
Motion made by
Yeah.
Councilwoman Kristen Brown to
I'll
transfer
second.
$25,000, seconded by Councilwoman Sherry Melick. Any discussion? Ron, we will look at other lines as well, if we have to dip again. Hopefully we don't. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
No, but could I ask a question? Since we're gonna be starting budgeting for next year, there's gotta be set fees like this they know they're gonna need next year. If we could get some breakdown on, especially these higher numbers, it might help us in that budgeting process. I mean, we don't know how much they're gonna take in, but if we know exactly how much they have to pay out.
We're doing really well with that in terms of trying to figure out where the shortfalls can be. Tom Waddell has been a part of our ambulance corps task force, and he's close to getting us to a point where we can try to project. We're not the ones handling the money, the ambulance corps, but try to project what the shortfall is, projected shortfall is. And obviously, you could have projected this year, and then the pandemic happens, and there's less calls and there's less revenue, so you're off anyway. But we have an expert in the field trying to figure out what that projection is going to be for us for our budget.
And for the
Yeah.
For the record, I just really hate that the insurance company pays, like when I had an accident, my son fell down the steps, the insurance company cut me a check and then I cut a check to the ambulance corps. I know that's way beyond what we could handle
That's the
here.
same thing, yeah.
You know, we can't fix that. Yes, that's my, like, honestly, I accidentally threw it out. I didn't realize that it was a check until I went back through the recyclables and I'm like, oh boy, I got a check from the insurance company and I need to write the check. You're right, it puts another level that the ambulance corps could not get paid and
And they don't a lot of times.
sorry, that's my soapbox, that's rough.
That's not just ambulance corps either, there's a lot of private businesses out there that have that issue of not being able to collect money. And then they have to find someone to track
Or
it
make it
down.
payable to both,
Yeah.
so at least the ambulance corps would have to.
Somebody call your senator or something. Okay, thank you all for that. I know there's so much more questions to have answered. Thank the public for their patience and all of you as well. We're working on it. If you have specific questions, if you're a member of the public watching this and you have some ideas, email us and we'll be happy to hear them out. We're continuing to get advice from all over the place, everywhere we can.
You write that off as an uncollectible, right? If you have a company, it becomes an uncollectible as far as your tax. You get it that way. You don't show that income, is that correct?
The loss.
Show it as a loss, yeah. I mean,
Well, it's an uncollectible, it's not. Doctors don't collect 1/10 of what they do. I'm sure it's all written off. They go for 1,000, they get 100. The rest is uncollectible.
You do show it as an uncollectible loss.
All right. Thank you all very much for that. Is there anything else? There was nothing else we added because we added to the agenda. Okay. Next up is,
I wanted to add that police car, we didn't add that. We had 2 bills, one for 3, one for 4. The police car wasn't repaired or we're not.
it went through
repair it?
insurance.
It went through insurance.
Yep, went through insurance.
Yeah.
That didn't get brought back up to you guys because it went through insurance.
Who's doing the work on it? Period, I guess.
Well, if it goes through insurance.
It has to be
that's
part of
their
the
choice.
insurance. It has to be someone who's attached to the insurance.
If it goes through the insurance, that's the person, the insured's choice to take it where they want.
Sometimes, yeah. I'll double check and find out where the work was done.
I think Highway did some of it,
You think Highway did some?
I'm pretty sure. Which car was it?
It wasn't, there was 2.
2.
I think we might be talking about a different one, Sean.
Oh, okay.
When you say it goes to insurance, the people who we had the accident with, or our insurance, they go through, whose insurance?
Your own
Our insurance.
Your own insurance.
The reason why it came to me that day last minute was because there was a thought amongst the police department that if it wasn't claimed, that the insurance rates wouldn't go up, and maybe we would just try to fix the problem for a couple thousand.
Okay.
When they did, after I sent it back to them, say, hey, I need more information, need a report on this, they determined it wouldn't skyrocket to the point where they couldn't just put it through insurance and just pay the deductible. So that's what we did. All right, audit number 8 of 2020. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve audit number 8 of 2020 in the amount of $419,931.81?
I will make that motion with a question
Okay.
for item number 200,993, and I've asked this question before, and I would like to know where the tracking systems that we're paying for every month are. Are they on vehicles? Are they being watched?
Which
What are
invoice,
they?
what company is that? Was that the leasing company?
Tracking system
Tracking systems?
in Pine Bush.
The GPS systems, but I don't think they're installed.
We talked about this, I think I talked with you and Megan about it. They're in Megan's office right now. We technically have GPS inside of our radios that we pay monthly for through Nicomco.
Right, and the new cars that we have all gotten have
So
that.
we were really paying double for something that's not really necessary to pay double for, but I think we were in a contract.
Well,
Will,
let me say this.
hold on a second, Will, have you seen this contract?
We never approved this contract.
No.
It never came before the board.
Alright, Sean, do me a favor, let's get together, not tomorrow, because you're busy.
I mean, I would like
but
to see if we can
Monday.
return these
Oh.
and get out of it.
I'm with you, let's look at this, and let's bring Will into the equation, and if we're paying double for something, we gotta figure out a way to get out of it if we can. Sound good, Will?
Absolutely.
All right, Sean, Monday sound good to you?
Sorry to keep harping on it, but.
No,
it's-
honestly, I don't know how it hasn't been on my radar, to be honest, so.
I
I think we
honestly,
have discussed it, but,
Megan and Bernard, I think were on it at one point. That was
Okay.
probably just before the COVID thing.
it could be that. All right, we're on it, Sherry, thank you for bringing it up. We're gonna approve the audit as is though, and then we will bring this up.
So I will make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor?
I-
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Good of the order, and what were we gonna change it to? Good of the order and what? Somebody brought that up last meeting.
Phil brought
I
something
did.
up.
What did you say?
Just say councilman comments as
What
well.
about councilwoman?
Council person.
Council person, council
What are you doing
comments.
here? Good of the order and council comments, which I think
In
is.
case anybody has an announcement.
Cindy?
Thank goodness we've moved to phase 1, and I hope we get to phase 2 when we're supposed to.
I think it's phase 3
Everybody
next week.
needs to get back.
I think we are
We're in
in
phase
phase
2.
We
We're-
just
Yeah,
phase
Phase 3
2.
starts Tuesday.
Tuesday's phase 3.
Ditto.
Phase 2 started outdoor dining.
I think it's great for all of our businesses, and I hope we can move through these phases real quickly.
For sure.
With carefulness.
Sherry?
I agree.
Okay. Kristen, anything?
Just
Ron? Yep.
thankful to everyone who's been doing their due diligence, and I know it's hard to wear the mask. My daughter's wore the mask twice, and it's the last 2 days going to the doctor, so other than that, she stays home on the farm. But I know it is not easy to be getting through these, but I'm very thankful to our local businesses. I know we tend to eat out at least once a week in my family to try to support the local not taverns, but yeah,
I support them.
yeah, food wise, I've not figured out the other side of it, but you know, my
I
family
support the other
supports
side.
dinner once a week out, and I really appreciate the local businesses for getting creative in how to get through this while still offering takeout options.
Can I
Thank you.
ask a question in this?
Sure.
What is, the stuff I see on Facebook about having a farm market here?
So the Tom Strong Community Response
I didn't hear
Team.
nothing about that.
Yeah, so the Tom Strong Community Response Team is hosting a farmer's market here. So we are working with them to provide the town hall parking lot as a location. So it's like our involvement would be renting out the parking lot and kind of hosting an event. So it's not a town run event, but we are going to be named additional insured on the insurance policy of the Tom Strong Community Response Team.
So it's gonna be similar to like what they do in the Village of Goshen there?
Yeah, so most of these, and Kristen was involved in the beginning part of these discussions, most of these farmers market work with like the Goshen Chamber or the Warwick Chamber, and they host it. So since we don't really have an active chamber and that sort of group, we took the charitable fund that was created with the Tom Strong and used that as an entity that could host a farmers market, which I think we have 13, 14, 15 vendors already signed up. City Winery is going to be there. So Randy Green's been heading it up, and we've just been able to do a tremendous job creating some interest. And it's going to be starting Tuesdays from July to October. Tuesdays are going to take place from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. to start. If that time doesn't work out, we're going to create some wiggle room. But we did Tuesdays because we didn't want to compete with other establishing farmers markets. So you have certain farmers that don't like spreading themselves too thin into too many of these, and we didn't want to compete with other markets that are on different days. So it's definitely been challenging and an educational experience because it's never really been done this way by the people who are doing it. But we've gotten a lot of excitement and feedback, so we're excited about it. The Tuesdays from 10 to 12, our food pantry is open. So we're trying to couple the individuals who are coming to get food from our food pantry and also provide vouchers for them for specific goods that will be pre-purchased by the Tom Strong Community Response Team. And that will be to support local vendors, hopefully local farmers. In some capacity, that will also be able to provide food for those that need it. So that's why we're also going to try to get them to pass by and go through Town Hall to do the farmers market while they're also getting food from the food pantry. So there's a lot of things working. We're excited about the idea. But our role in it is to just be the place where it's hosted.
So it's gonna be the first Tuesday,
It's gonna be
July.
every Tuesday, starting Tuesday, July 14th, is that the date? Nope, it's not, we changed it. It's not the 7th anymore. Tuesday, July 14th, 9 a.m.
thank you.
You're welcome. Ron?
Sean, did you have any update for the locks and the gates and for the parks and all the locks and all the parks and the farmhouse and bathrooms? I think we discussed it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so actually, Mike's Lock showed up this afternoon about 4 o'clock with all the locks. They're down in the office. We're gonna switch out all the locks at the parks and get a sign-out sheet, so we're gonna pretty much find out who has keys and who doesn't when they don't work anymore. And pretty much make people come here to get a key, they're non-duplicating, so they sign it out, and when they're done with it, we'll sign it back in. I mentioned to Anna possibly doing like a, every year, call the person and check, do you still need the key, do you wanna hand it in, so that way we can track who's doing what. Because as of right now, the community garden cut our lock off the barn, put their own lock on the barn. So, it does, they gave me the code.
That was nice
It
of
still
them.
doesn't really sit right, so.
Well, but why do they need a key to the barn? Because I thought we said they couldn't put the tractor, or they couldn't store stuff in there.
I thought that they were this was last year's discussion. I remember there was an issue about the lawn tractor and the gasoline next to the hay bales. And I thought I remembered, was it Mr. C, somebody saying that they put a separate, a lockable gas tank,
Like a shut off for
There
the
was some kind of a
gas.
shut
Yes.
off.
Oh, so that's good. So if it leaks, it has a lock on it. That's good.
but I thought that's what was discussed at the prior board. I mean, whether we want to change that.
That was exactly right from the previous board.
It's a lawnmower.
Sean, maybe we'll,
Right next to hay
My
bales.
idea would be
The
to
lawnmower
possibly,
and the tiller.
like maybe the old shed out here that really isn't used anymore, possibly just move it up there and they can put it in the shed right next to the garden, so it's not in the barn anymore. I mean, they can store their tools in there. It might need a little TLC, but
There's a fair amount of tools that were outside. When we went out there, I saw there was a lot of garden tools that were right next to the compost bin that
Yep.
were all stored outside that really takes the weathering on the handles over time.
they would probably prefer to have something to put them in.
so I will be up there. Mike's Locks, he's gonna change out the locks for the bathroom at Benedict Park. And I'll make sure a cleaning person gets a key, but he will be there Monday morning around 8:30 to switch out the locks.
Okay,
And you've talked to Ronnie Lewis and as far as picking up the garbage there?
Yep.
2 days, 2 weeks, 3 days?
I schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday right now. The garbages have been overflowing.
Yeah.
At Monday, Thursdays, we've been emptying them, and they're absolutely overflowing every time. I think people are just utilizing the parks with being able to really go anywhere.
Is there any concern over the lock that's on the outhouse that just got moved there? There's actually a lock that you can spin. Is there any worries about people getting locked in there on accident? I don't know, I just imagine kids messing around and it's got a latch that goes across. And I'm pretty sure it was for when it was at, the Mazer farm or Medline farm, but there's actually a bolt that will, like a deadbolt that will lock it.
On the inside.
On the, yeah, or block somebody inside potentially. That was just
I
a
honestly
concern of
did
mine, but I
not,
don't know if anybody else looked at it.
I did
I
not
didn't
notice
go
that
up there.
either.
I know it's behind the barn from a picture I saw, but I didn't.
Is it?
go see.
We're gonna have somebody, we're going with Mariana and having somebody refurbish it, so I'm not sure how long it's gonna be there, but while it is there, yeah, we wanna check that out.
I'll be up there on Monday.
So for those of you that don't know, Ron, are you done?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say thanks to Chrissy for jumping in, being the expert farm girl she is. Thanks, Sean's been answering my questions all week, and Tara's people. You got a good group here. Sherry's doing the ambulance, and I know Cindy's got all the IT stuff, and it seems to be that the team is meshing pretty good. Just keep it going like that.
For sure, and we can't forget Ron and I were in a 1.5 hour budget session with the PD. So Ron has been taking the lead in the budget part with PD. The budget conversations have been going on with the department heads. We certainly are going to keep meshing well and working together as a team. We all have different things to bring to the table, so I enjoy working with all of you, except for Will.
I agree.
No one likes working with the word.
Well, you're always watching this.
What?
Because you're always watching.
We could have got the meeting started on time, it would have been nice.
That's not his fault. Also, by the
We got
way,
here by 8:30.
by the way, we had a photographer who was supposed to come take a group photo of us, and I just forgot to tell you all. So next
That's
Thursday,
what I
yeah.
know about.
So next,
So
so next meeting,
So you canceled her too?
yeah.
You canceled me?
Yeah, next meeting, we're gonna take a photo of the group, and I'm also gonna try to utilize her throughout the day, Sean, for any department head, stuff like that. We wanna make sure, we're redoing the website, we wanna try to have some headshots done and stuff, so we're gonna make it look nice. But we wanna have a nice group shot.
So you mean our next Thursday meeting?
Yeah, so
not
let's-
next Thursday.
So our next Thursday meeting, which would be 2 weeks from today. So Thursday, July 2nd, if you guys can get here, you usually are here early, but 6:15. We'll take a photo before we start the meeting. Wear your nicest suit, Ron, okay?
I only got one.
Got one. Okay, I have a couple things. Thank you, Ron, for joining me today, and Connor Eckert, our director, the executive director of the IDA. We went to the City Winery grand opening today. It was very well attended. That place is gorgeous. Oh my gosh. In the Village of Montgomery on Factory Street. If you guys haven't seen it, it's going to be opening for the public. Make it out there. Oh my gosh. Breathtaking.
They must have put $3 million into the place.
Yeah, I mean, they're in every major city, Chicago, and the Village of Montgomery.
Yeah, incredible.
It's incredible, the type of attention to detail, and they hired a manager at the facility who lives right here in town of Montgomery. So they hired
A lot of those kids serving today were my.
30 to 40 employees, local kids, so that is a business that's, all of our local businesses are amazing, but that one just opened, and if you're able to support them,
When is
please.
it gonna open?
I believe it was tonight, yeah, so I think they're probably closed now, but
The weekend that we open?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah, just keep checking it out.
They have food too? or-
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna have a limited menu at first, yes, but they will have food.
What we're gonna do with today?
Okay, there's a bunch of stuff. The coronavirus update, I missed one thing. I noticed it halfway through the meeting. We are looking at and we're working with a FEMA representative for all of our reimbursements right now, and they've been great. Megan and Bernard have been working with me on this individual. One of the main leaders in the FEMA region, for this region, actually lives in the town. So we actually have been really helped, guided through this process, and we got our username and password very, very quickly. And we're working on them on a bunch of reimbursements and potential investments in response to COVID-19, one of which is purchasing or leasing a system that would allow our employees to enter town hall by using their ID instead of hitting the button. So obviously we don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. Limiting the amount of hand exchanges and touching is something we're looking into.
Surface touching.
Surface touching, thank you, Will. Gosh, I love our journey. So that's one thing we're looking at. You may see a proposal. It may be expensive, but we are going to try to get verification from our FEMA rep if this is something we can put in for reimbursement. If we can, it might be an opportunity to utilize this. There are some towns that already have it. The employees seem to really be all about it. So if we can make this accommodation and get it done, we would love to do it. So I'll be reporting back to you guys on that soon.
When are we getting our badges and our ID?
I think the badges are almost in.
And you also were at a meeting Monday night, Tuesday night, when they awarded kids scholarships?
Yeah, so Tom Strong Community Response Team gave away $13,000 worth of scholarships. Our 2 grand prize winners each received $5,000 scholarships, one male and one female. Coincidentally, as I was at Benedict Park Farm, just checking everything out and learning about that situation that's going along, the homeowner who lives right there, her property, backup property is right Benedict Farm Park. Her son is one of the recipients of the $5,000 award.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, it was incredible. And they were just so pleased. It was the last award that was announced for the Valley Central Awards night for the seniors. It's one of the highest scholarships, so we were really excited. And then second place, each got $1,000 each, and third place, each got $500 each. I had nothing to do with the judging. They were judges that were part of the school district. I would like to announce the second place winner, I had nothing to do with this, was Ron's grandson, Holden,
Congratulations.
who wrote one of the most exceptional essays I have ever read. Exceptional essay. So he was one of the recipients. So congratulations to him. A lot of good stuff happening. We have a couple of items for executive session, personnel, and to consult counsel on potential litigation. Did I say that right, Will?
Close enough.
Okay, would anyone like to make that motion?
Before,
Sorry.
perhaps,
Well, I got two things. I think the board is doing very good work and working together. And I don't think we should ever leave Tara out, because I work with a lot of clerks.
Yes.
I represent several municipalities, and I think all of my clerks that I work with do very good work, excellent work. And Tara, who our firm has been representing the town since the middle of 2018, and I've never noticed a time where Tara wasn't doing an outstanding and conscientious and skilled job with her staff. So I think that a lot of times town clerks are in the background and don't get any recognition, and I know this board appreciates, and I know I do in my office, appreciates the work that Tara and her staff do. That's number one. And
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah.
And number two, seeing as we're not going to have a public meeting before Father's Day, assume we want to send out good wishes to everyone for Father's Day, and
For sure.
everyone who's lucky enough to have their father around. Make sure you appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Will do.
That's it.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
In the future, I'm going to put good of the order and good of the order for council as well. We'll add that to the-
Council comments.
Council comments. Then we really want to add that one. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, particular person, and to consult counsel on potential litigation?
Is that a hold on, because I'm finished?
No, I'm done.
I did.
Who made it?
So moved.
Councilman Brown made the motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilman Sherry Melick. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved at 8:55 p.m.
And it
They're gonna
fine.
rely. What? Unfun.
Why?
We're good? Okay. Okay, we made a motion to exit executive session at 9:42 PM, and it was passed, seconded and passed. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.